Hello, this is Eric Miskell with EMSNOW here on the show floor IPC Apex 2023 in lovely San Diego with Jason of Aegis Software. Hey, Jason, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Eric. Thank you.
Yeah. Did want to ask, we're back at Apex. It feels pretty busy, pretty good in the floor. What's your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we're back to normal. It's really uplifting. The customers are really enthusiastic and the traffic's been great.
Yeah, that's generally what I've been hearing yesterday. We're on the second day today, so we'll see. By tomorrow, we'll all be talking to each other, I think.
It's vendor day.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But no, I've heard nothing but good things. So I think people want to get back together again. They want to have these.
I completely agree. You can sense that here.
Yeah. Want to talk to you about a couple of things. PLC. The PLC gateway, which you guys are doing. Tell us about that.
So it's a new product we have that's unique because it's not actually within the FactoryLogix platform. It's meant to be used by anybody to solve the very real problem that all industries have, really, but our industry has it where we're used to these intelligent machines, and now 26 vendors are qualified with CFX, so getting data out of the machines is getting more and more solved. But what about the robots that don't have computers on them, which is actually the majority of them in the world are just run by PLCs. And what many know is that PLCs are incredibly reliable and ubiquitous, but not terribly smart. So we had to build a tool that enables anyone to connect to their PLCs and map the relatively basic data, which is just variables changing, to CFX. So what this means is you actually turn a PLC-based single-arm robot, conveyors, what have you, into a standard CFX emitting machine. So now all your custom robotic cells and assembly cells and so forth, you can make them as intelligent as your other machines that are out-of-the-box CFX. So it fills the entire corporate equation where everything is talking CFX now.
Okay. You know, one of the things I've noticed on the show floor as of yesterday is it seems to be AI is the buzzword in the industry too, and this relates to what you're doing here, obviously.
Because AI needs training, it needs data, and if 20-30% into discrete manufacturing industries, it could be 100% of your machines are PLC driven. So it's a big gap that needs to be filled, and it shouldn't be filled by massive customization and integrator work. This is a tool that allows anybody to say, this is the data from the PLC, and it generates CFX for you.
On the AI, kind of one of the things is, you know, there's a lot of smart people, we're applying it not always so successfully.
Yeah.
You know, and is that because of what you're saying, that there's all this customization, or what do you think that's about?
It's what I have found is we actually had our user conference and we've polled our customer base, which is rather large with 2,000 sites around the world using some form of our software. We ask very simple questions about who has interest in AI, and generally all the hands go up. And then when you start digging into, well, what is it that you think or wish AI would do for you, the answers diminish. In that I think there's a belief AI can be helpful. I believe it can be helpful. But everybody hasn't worked through the business side and the technical side of what do they actually want it to do. So there's a bit of a road on that, I think.
That makes sense, yeah.
I often say that I think that the cycle we all went through in the tech industry was, first it was big data, big data, big data. So we started populating the big data. And then everybody looked around and said, well, what do we do with it? And then they said, well, now we need AI to make the big data useful to us. So it's a natural progression.
But it's also critical to, the vision of kind of the lights out factory, the full automation and all that.
Absolutely.
Maybe, one tech running a factory, whatever that vision is. I mean, this is critical to that being achieved.
It's very helpful in that. It's also helpful in that now that we do have unprecedented levels of data about the process and production, only machines can see the patterns in those things at that level. So it's going to be critical.
So the issue, term I heard here first, but it wasn't, and you told me it's an older term, Composable Architecture.
Yes.
What the hell is it? Tell us about that.
Well, it's something that's becoming, it's interesting because whereas Industry 4.0 was a largely a technological vision, and we've been working through that. This one is interesting because the composable enterprise is a business vision that takes us from where we have our long-term strategic plans, and the corporation itself is structured in virtually every way to bring order and stability to executing that plan, right? But the last 10 years, especially with the pandemic, we know one thing is things are moving faster than we ever anticipated, and it's all change, right? The unanticipated change, constant change. The composable business enterprise is such that it's actually re-architected a bit to thrive on that change, to not consider it a violation of the strategic plan, where it's very agile. So you might ask, well, what does that have to do with software? It really has everything to do with software, because in that model, if you think about the way we look at giant enterprise apps like ours, they need to also be composable, in that they can change without going to a bunch of integrators or doing a huge amount of work. Every time the paradigm changes, you can't be changing your software the way that has traditionally been done. And this is a journey that we've already done some things to get to this composability. There are steps that are being taken forward more so in that direction, but there is actually a destination for the tech that enables composable enterprises, where it's really remarkable, the vision, and nobody is there yet, but where your applications will manifest themselves at an enterprise level in a way where they are completely adaptable and flexible at any moment. Not the way we look at them now, where you always know you're going in and what you're going to get. It's going to be very different and very, very flexible.
You know, as I hear you speak, I remember years ago the trend of people were talking about re-engineering the organization, right? Re-engineering that. And that's a very structural kind of imagery, right? This one it speaks more to the architecture of it and the composability. And I like that because it seems more malleable and you can actually achieve something more, what's the term, kind of consistent or you know, longer living, I guess. You're not just restructuring something for now, you're looking at something that'll have a functionality into the future.
Well, I think you really put your finger on a very good point. Is the old re-engineering your organization, I think, was a C-suite. Someone had a vision, but really what it was we're re-engineering it around a new strategic plan. This is such that you're re-engineering it such that the operation itself is empowered structurally to adapt to the change, to the change that's required as it occurs. It doesn't have to roll all the way up. It's that you have elements of the organization are all designed to adapt to that change. But again, if your enterprise software systems upon which we all depend aren't supporting that, it's going to be hard to achieve.
And you mentioned in our discussion before too, you can also leverage the tools that are required rather than being committed to a standard set.
That's correct. Yeah, the vision eventually, the kind of the holy grail, is where your application layer is such that it's invoking whatever abilities it needs from a variety of vendors. And so that's part of the composable technology side.
And so how does that change what Aegis does and how you kind of attack the market?
Well, it changes. One thing is we're constantly talking with customers about this, and is it something they're looking at with the agility and so forth? And then that informs in fact, we've been doing it for some years now, our architectural vision and our roadmap and so forth of where the product platform is going is already on that journey, and we're going to do it such that we've already come out with some things, and it will be an incremental journey we're looking towards that kind of holy grail I talked about.
Yeah, the Holy Grail. That's a good term for it, right? And so if people want to know more about this, where other than the application here from more of a theoretic, you said it came out of Gartner?
That's correct. Yeah, Gartner has great resources on it, actually. I think they've done some really brilliant work on the ideas. Yeah.
No, it's an interesting topic, and certainly one that I'll look into, and I think we'll start covering more, and hopefully we can discuss again once I'm a little smarter about it as we move forward.
Well, we're all sort of learning about it and moving our way through it. So, okay, yeah.
Okay. Well, Jason, I hope it's a successful show for you. Good to catch up, and hopefully we do this again soon.
I hope so. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, as always.
Thank you.